In Python, everything is an object: numbers, strings, list, or even functions. Each object in Python carries three important pieces of information: the reference count, type, and value. The reference count defines how many names or containers are pointing to this object. The type defines what kind of object is it, such as is it int, float, or list. Value represents the actual data stored inside that object. Now here's a key difference from the languages like C or C++. In a C++, a variable like, for example, x directly owns a specific memory location. The data 2337, for example, is stored right in that slot. But in Python, things work slightly differently. When you write x is equals to 2337, the Python interpreter creates an integer object that owns the memory for the value 2337. The name x doesn't own that memory, it simply points to the object. So instead of x owning the block of memory where 2337 resides, the object itself owns the memory. The name x is just a reference, a label to that object. The interpreter tracks how many names point to that object using a reference count. When no names or structures refer to it anymore, then the Python's garbage collector frees that memory automatically. So reference count increases when another name points to the same object. One of the first things you will notice when moving from C++ to Python is that you do not need to declare variables before using them. In C++, you must define the type before assigning a value. For example, int x is equals to 10 or float y is equals to 5.5. But in Python, a variable is created automatically when you assign a value. You simply write x is equals to 10 or y is equals to 5.5. Python figures out the data type based on the value you assign, and this is called dynamic typing. Once the variables are created, you can easily display them using the print function, for example print x, and these functions as shown on the screen. So the print function sends output to the screen. It can show text, numbers, or even expressions all at once. This makes Python a very beginner friendly since you can write and run your code without worrying about type declarations or maybe compilation steps. Notice that we didn't use int, float, or string anywhere. Python automatically detects the type, and we didn't need to include semicolons or even any header file, just assign and print. In Python, user input is handled by input function. The syntax is simple, so you write variable is equals to input function. When Python executes this line, it displays the prompt text and waits for the user to type something. Whatever the user enters is always read as a string, even if it looks like a number. For example, if we pass enter your name string as an input, notice that if we try to do a calculation like age plus 5, we will get an error because age is still a string. To fix this, we need to convert it into integer or float using int and float functions. For example, like age is equals to int of and then of input, so on. Split function helps in getting a multiple inputs from user. It breaks the given input by a specified separator. If a separator is not provided, then any white space is a separator. Generally, user uses a split method to split a Python string, but one can use it in taking multiple inputs. So syntax says that you write input, then dot split, and you pass a separator to a split function.